With being married, I mean, I really for sure thought that was my forever till the day I die. Like I saw no future that I didn't.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time, I struggled with how to not be miserable, inside of something that I thought was forever. I turned 50, y'all, and I started a podcast.
Really, age is just a number. It comes down to how we choose to live and the choices we make in our life, and those things accumulate.
Don't let the programming of life keep you from doing things every single day that make you happy.
When we feel good, it's easy to think good.
Life is not happening to you. You are your life. You are happening to your life. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. In this episode, I talked to my dear friend, Polly Mertens, and every time I'm around Polly, it just seems like we have a conversation that matters. And what I love about her is that she has a commitment in her life to expansion and to growth and this insatiable curiosity about the world. We talk about a lot of wide-ranging topics, from the meaning of our life to introspection and everything in between. I hope you enjoy this episode with Polly Mertens and make today a good day to die. Hi, honey.
Hello. I'm so excited to do this with you.
Good. I'm excited. I know I've been anxiously wanting to hear about what's going on with you. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about right away was I know right now we're in the middle of 2 weekends of last weekend you did something really, really interesting. And then next weekend you're up to something really, really cool, which I'm stoked because I was able to catch you on a weekend that you didn't have something super cool planned. But I want to know about this retreat you went on. What do you want to share that with me? What you were doing?
Mm-hmm. I would say it was a shorter retreat. You and I've probably done, longer transformation work, but this was just 2.5 days, or it was like a full day and a half. And it was at Jill's property in Big Sur. And it was themed as inner child work, right? And, there was about 6 or 8 of us. It was just yummy food. And Big Sur just has that energy that's come, let me, embrace you with nature and trees and views and all of that. And we just enjoyed that. We enjoyed little hikes. We enjoyed food. We enjoyed giggles. It's so fun being with girlfriends that you can just laugh and unwind with. And then I would say there was one transformative part of it that was helpful for me. And it was, we did this breathwork exercise. We're out in this beautiful meadow, right? Just kind of surrounded by nature and little bees buzzing around and stuff. And then it was breathwork like that, breathing consciously, right? Mm-hmm. And then you sort of kind of go into trance. And it was different for me with my work with hypnosis. I kept thinking, oh, I'm supposed to go, right? I'm going into that trance-like state. But with breathwork, it can take you to different places. And so I had to sort of stop analyzing it and stop thinking about it and then just be with it. And, I had some nice downloads from the other side of okay, I think the biggest thing for me was I got, what I shared after the experience was I've had this notion, this paradigm that I've been living in of I'm on this path of life and my life, my real life is over here and I'm trying to make a right turn. I'm trying to get off the exit and get over into this lane. There's this other life I'm on over here. Right. And what I got in this download was, it's not over here. It's not oh, you're on the wrong path. You need to get over. It was more the aligning of it. No, it's out in front of you and you're on it. You're going to it. And that shift, and I know neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, it was and Joe, the peace that I got from not feeling like I was on the wrong path or the wrong life, I was oh, great. Now we can just enjoy this path instead of feeling wrong. Wow. It's always wrong. You know what I mean?
Wow. That happened while you were doing the breath work?
Right. Yeah. So that was what was coming to me in the breath work was no, the downloads were more words. And then as I started to speak it and share it, I came up with that notion of and the way that the mind worked for me in that moment was click. And I've had this sense of peace in my body. Like one of the things that one of the things that I've been wanting to transform around me is getting upset when things go wrong and having impatience, like hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Because I think I've got to get over to this other lane. I'm like, hurry up, let me get out of this thing that I'm doing because I've got to be over here. And I was like, no, it's a part of it. And that blending, that merging of those two paradigms or those notions just was like, oh, this is the life. This is the path.
What that makes me think about is Esther Hicks, the law of attraction. But it's Abraham Hicks. Have you heard of Esther and her husband? And they're writing down basically what they're getting from Abraham, a group of. Yeah. And are you familiar with their writing and their?
Oh, girl, I listen to Abraham for at least a half hour every day. Every morning.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. But it's like, that's exactly what she's saying. I'm going to just say she, but it's they or him or whatever, but I don't, the pronouns, but like, it's the desire for what you want, but feeling in the mode of feeling the way you want to feel with what you want in the future, but feeling it now, like realizing the becoming of it, the journey of you going through that is the joy, like is the thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because there is no like end point. There is no like stop on the road where it's like, okay, I've, right. But it's one thing to like read that in a book or hear them say it, right? But then it's another thing for you to have the experience of it clicking in your body in that moment.
And it's funny that you say that, because that was exactly like what else sort of came out of that. Like you said, so you know how like you come back from a weekend and sort of integrating back into life, and things that happened over a transformative weekend haven't quite melded, and it's like, okay, I know that there'll be opportunities in my present life to still continue that old path, the old like dysfunction of like, I'm on the wrong one. But what started to come to me was like exactly what you're saying. I'm okay now. I'm enjoying now. Enjoy this part of the path. Feel it now. And what else I got was letting go of resistance to this is wrong. Like letting the joy be in the now, letting the future that I'm like working towards, or, someday will come kind of thing. Like, fucking A, it's right now, It
is right now. It is right now.
And so I can feel just the crystals of like gunk that have been in resistance, just like shattering, just like, so yeah.
I saw a saying or a meme on Instagram the other day that said something like, pain is being somewhere and being here and wanting somewhere else. It's just the not like loving like exactly where we are or what's happening right now. And that's what struggle is, or pain or suffering. That's what suffering is, right? Is being here and wanting there. And that's true for physical things. That's true for where we feel like we want to be, like emotionally or transformative wise, because it is, and I'm saying this to me. I'm always saying this to me as I'm saying it to you, which is why I love our conversations, because it's a remembering of there is nothing more important, right? There is nothing that we are going to glean or enjoy or make better by than what's happening right here, this struggle right here, and even like what you just said, which is not resisting the feeling of wrongness. It's like, even if you feel it's wrong, accepting that feeling right in the moment, not even resisting that as wrong. Going, like, go ahead.
Yeah. And being conscious of it, like, oh, there I'm doing that thing, not
right.
Because then you'll just compound. This isn't okay. I'm not okay that I'm not okay not being there, and hell no. And, I think this is a little bit of a seed for what your podcast is about, what this project is about for you is like, a good day to die is like,
Mm-hmm.
it's today. It's today, people, like me,
today.
like you, me, us, like it's today. Like, what if it
It is
was
today.
the last day? What if, yeah. So, tomorrow, next day, whatever. And you and I have climbed a lot of mountains in our life, metaphorically and spiritually and all of that. And you get to the top and it's like, okay, where's the next one? It's like, yeah, it's just the journey of life. So,
So I want to know more about this breath work too. Is this the first time you've done breath work in this particular way?
Yeah, that particular teacher
Method.
and leader, facilitator of it. Yeah.
And was it the kind where after a certain amount of time you felt your hands kind of contracting or your jaw contracting?
No.
You didn't notice
I
those?
know. That reminds me of like the Wim Hof work. I've heard of that and different things. And no,
You didn't
it was
experience that?
more. No, this was more kind of letting go of thought. It was just trying to be very like hyper conscious, I would say, of your breath. Hyper conscious, not as like a bad thing, but as an intentional thing, like a focus thing.
Mm-hmm.
And by being in that breath, you sort of drown out all of this, drown out the, the chatter, and the things. And you're just like, kind of that opening to what is. And I know what you mean about, your body goes away and stuff. I've had that experience in other breath work and stuff, but this one was more, the chatter went away and it was like the tuning in
Interesting.
could come through more. So
wow.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested also just in general about this idea of, going to spending a weekend. Was it 2 nights? Is that what you did? You drove to Big Sur for 2 nights?
Yeah.
And about how many people were there?
It was about 8. It got a little bit less as the weekend went on. Some people could start, but they couldn't. They just had other obligations. So it was about 6 or 8 of us. Yeah.
And this idea that, you would take a weekend of your life and like drive several hours and, spend 2 days in the woods with people. And, for the goal of, I mean, are you comfortable sharing with me like what your intention was going there for that weekend or what Jill was promoting it as, that, she was going to offer?
Yeah. And I would say, I'm guessing that different people walk through life with different, things that they enjoy. I love things like this so much. Like these are my vacations, it's like vacations, whatever you want to call it. I do have quote vacation with no transformation. Well, wait a minute. It's always transformative, like there's no walking through a day of life that's not some sort of uncovering of something about ourselves. But in going, it was part like embracing so Jill is just now opening up her home in Big Sur for wanting to do these retreats. And so she wanted to kind of beta on some friends to get some feedback. Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And how does this feel with this particular facilitator and moving about the spaces and things like that. So I was like, all day long, so does that help?
Yeah,
so
that's great. And so for you, so you were obviously helping her to like test out her methodology, but for you, were you just kind of going open to say, I'm going to just see what shows up during this process?
Absolutely. As somebody who's done a lot of workshops and weekends and multi-days and boot camps and, warriors and you name it, it's like, I know if I put myself into this space, one of the couple first events that I did of this nature, I remember standing around like arrows are flying or, walking on fire, whatever the hell was going on. And I was like, wait a minute, this is like life,
right.
We're doing life right now. And
metaphor,
the objective is take this back into life. Don't just like go, oh my God, it's, you and I have come out of the landmark work. And I remember the first landmark and I was like, this is amazing. And I remember, the first landmark sitting there and they're like, oh, and there's, I forget if they had people raise their hands or what. And they're like, oh, these people are revisiting the experience, like they're here a second or
Auditing
third
or
auditing. Yeah.
reviewing. Yeah.
Reviewing. And towards the end, I was so burst open. I was, like you're a possibility and all this stuff.
Right.
And I was like, why would you review this? Like,
Oh,
like you get it, like poof, it's like poof, you graduate, you're done with high school, and then on to and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. No,
yeah.
there's more.
Right.
There's more platforms.
Right. I mean, it's the more time we have exposure to these ideas and these experiences and these influences, the more it's practice and the more we can integrate it, as you say, into our daily life, because it is important to have those transformative moments, those aha moments, right? But then what's the point? If when I'm in an argument with a family member, I can't, see outside of the drama and the story and like my reactions and all of that, right? So you brought up Landmark, which I definitely want to talk to you about. This is as good a time as any, and I don't know. There's a lot of people who know about Landmark, and there's a lot of people who don't. But maybe we should share each of our experiences. I don't know. I mean, I do know the year I went. I went to the Landmark Forum, which is a 3-day immersive weekend, transformation weekend. I went to San Francisco, and I know the year I did it because I was in a relationship with this person, with a man, and we were like going to break up, and I was supposed to be going to therapy to figure out what was wrong with me, and so this must have been like 2001. I think that's right.
Yeah,
something like that.
Because I think you shared it with me in like 02 or 03 or something.
Yeah, it was about 2001. And I remember going to Landmark Forum, driving to San Francisco, and just staying in this little hotel and like not having any idea what I was walking into. And and coming out of those 3 days, or even just like the end of day one, and I'm in the room, just like, what's happening, because you're in this experience with like 200 other people, and everybody's having their own experience alongside of yours, and everybody's experience is totally different, and you're like seeing all these explosions around you. And anyway, I just remember coming out of that experience, number one, saying I 100% do not need to go to therapy. Now that's not to say I don't need therapy, or that people don't need therapy, and I'm in therapy now. I love therapy, and there's different times in life where different modalities are important. I'm sure you would agree. But in that particular moment, I was crystal clear that I definitely did not need therapy. That I had such a breakthrough. Like, it was like whoop. And my life has never been the same. I mean, I remember it. And by the way, I have reviewed the Landmark Forum.
Me too.
Many years later, Oh, you did? You have?
Yeah.
So will you share what your first Landmark was like, or your first forum?
Well, I always love to honor you because you introduced me to it, and it's such a gift you gave me. I mean,
how did that come up, Polly? Like, what do you remember what we were talking about, or what you were going through, where I said you might want to consider Landmark, if it's something you're willing to share or remember?
Here's what my memory is like pulling down, like the download. So you, Sunny, and I were, like the place I can remember a little bit more than the exact words, but you, Sunny, and I were at lunch at that little restaurant that goes over the creek in San Luis Obispo.
Yep,
I forget what it's called then, but yeah. And we're having this yummy lunch, and it was like the couple first times I was getting to know you, we had become new friends, and there was just like this way that you were talking, and it wasn't like a specific thing you said or whatever. And I was just like in the back of my mind going, I want what she's got. Like it felt contagious. And I think that you and I would both say, when you're around people who are self-expressed, who are open, who are kind of fresh off of the experience, who are in tune with
Fresh.
themselves, yeah, it's fucking contagious.
Yeah.
And you were just open. You were, like you said, you were kind of like that. And it was yummy. It was yummy to be around.
I see.
And I was like, tell me about how you got this, or like your way of being, now that I can put words to it. And you just started sharing. That's kind of what I remember.
Wow. That I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. That makes so much more sense, that it was like an energy or a way of being that you kind of were attracted to. Yeah. And then so you decided you would do that. Did you also go to San Francisco, or did you go to LA, or you?
I think the first one I did was in San Jose. I did San Jose and a couple in LA, and I think San Jose was the first one. And I just want to share, kind of like you said, it was like so easy for me to say yes to something I didn't know, because your outcome, your way of being, your experience of expressing in the world was so magnetic. I was like, I don't care what it's like. I don't know what it could be. I had never done anything remotely like that. I mean, it was college classes or, marketing classes or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, going up there to get this thing. Right. But if I can come out like she's able to, like how you, I don't even remember if you told me so much about the, like what to expect. You just were like, this is how it is for me now. And I was like, okay, give me some of that. And just like that night, I think I just went and signed up and drove up like you, San Jose, like, okay, here I am. And it was so not what I expected in the beginning. And in the end, like, what do they say? Something like, everyone's like popcorn in this room. You're going to pop. You just might pop at different times, Right. So like you were saying, like some people would be in the, and then they pop at different times. And I was like, okay, have I popped? Am I,
am I doing it right? Am I doing it?
But then, I mean, and there's a couple moments in that weekend. I remember still to this day, some things that the facilitator said. I was like, fuck yeah, that's, just, they land, man. They land. So good.
Well, I feel like too, there's so many things that we get to explore as adults. I mean, thousands of things that we get to explore as adults, concepts, ideas, experiences that, can you imagine if we would be introduced to these ideas in childhood? I mean, right? I mean, like it's crazy. I mean, from everything to the concepts you learn, the foundational concepts we learn in the Landmark Forum, to things like meditation, to things like even just knowing about like inner knowing, or things like women's health, or like all of these things, right? And to me, what I'm really present to in these last, I would say about 5 years, and seems to be becoming more and more concentrated, is this idea of how I'm just cracking the surface of information and ideas and concepts and experiences that I'm able to have and I'm able to explore, that have been here the whole time, and that a lot of people do know about. And it's like,
yeah.
And
okay, yeah. Like just yesterday or 2 days ago, somebody sent me a podcast that I've never heard of this person, and because I was sharing something with her on Friday, and she was reminded, and then she remembered this teacher that she followed that I've never heard of, and I texted her back and I said, I'm listening to this podcast. It's amazing. Thank you for sharing with me another part of the universe of consciousness that I haven't yet touched.
Right. Ooh, that's a beautiful way of saying that. Showing me a part of the what? Showing me a part of the
universe of consciousness that I haven't yet touched. Like it's out there, right? Remember, Joe? It was like,
wow.
And from Landmark, it's like, there's what you know, and there's what you don't know, and then there's what you don't know, and all that stuff.
Right.
And I kind of liken it to like, it's over here, and you're like, what? And I'm like, oh, there's that thing I've been looking. Okay, great. Yeah. Or just, it's on the path. It's just, getting to it. Yeah.
And one of the emotions that comes up for me when I experience like realizing about something that was kind of behind me the whole time or whatever, is kind of, sometimes I get angry about it. Like feeling like there's a loss there from having not known it sooner.
Or like, why was I doing that? Like, or yeah, like, why have I been doing this to myself, or in the wrong relationship, or the wrong job, or the.
Or why did no one tell me this?
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff that we are taking responsibility, that you and I, for example, are taking responsibility of learning and experiencing and knowing. Some of it I feel like should have been shared with me by people who were close to me. Okay, my mom, I'm just gonna say, for example, or whatever, and this feeling of like, I can't believe I'm 50 years old and I'm just learning this. Like, my mind has been blown so many times in the last 3 years of things that I've read, experienced, heard, watched. And I'm 50. And I'm like, why am I just knowing this now? And so I have this experience of like a little bit of resentment, a little bit of anger, a little bit of like, and then also feeling like I missed out, or I'm late to the party, or this self thing. And that's obviously part of the work, right? Is to acknowledge that and go, okay, you can beat yourself up or be mad at other people, or you can just stay in the fact that you're super excited that you know it now, or that you figured it out now. I have a really good friend of mine. She's actually helping me with this whole project, Ashley, and she's 28, I think, and I get to like be her friend. Being old enough to be her mom, but I get to be her friend and see her experiencing a lot of these different concepts and all kinds of other things that I've never even heard of or come up with. She's experiencing them at her age, and I mean, I just think it's right whenever it's happening, but it's hard for me to feel like there's limited time, and I just wish I had more of it sooner, kind of thing, but again, I at the same time, I recognize that's part of my work, which is to let that piece of it go.
Mm-hmm.
Does anything about that come up for you when I say anything like that for you?
Yeah, a few things, like, as you were telling some stories, like, my mom doesn't even know this shit still.
Yeah.
We're learning things. I'm learning things that, I'll even share it with her and she doesn't get it, so she's not the transmitter of that for me. And I just make peace with that. And I see her more as a teacher of like how not to live my life. And so it's like, go do this, like, I didn't get this experience. So you, sweetie, go do this, or I can look at how she's choosing to live her life and go, if anything, I give it as like, the teacher doesn't always have to tell you what to do in order for you to get lessons, right?
Right.
You can watch modeling, what have you, and it's your interpretation of how they're living their life or what the results they're getting, and go, what do I want? And that could be friends, teachers, it could be teachers, it could be speakers, whatever it is, and go, well, do I want the results that they have, or do I want my own results, or what do I want it to look like? So that was one thing. And then the one other thing, as you were talking, I was reminded, and I wanted to say something as we spoke about, I think that the importance of women sharing and being in circle and being connected.
No. It's true.
And,
it's true. And I don't do that.
yeah.
But that's been coming up for me over here.
Yeah.
I was invited to a full moon women's circle last weekend or something. And I was just like, I looked right down my nose at that. I was like, like, I'm woo in my head, but in actual practice, I'm not woo woo.
Yeah.
like I think that's a great idea, to sit with women. And actually, my therapist, who I absolutely adore,
Awesome.
here in Scottsdale, for many, many years, she shared with me that for many, many years, she led women's circles. And I feel like this is one of the next frontiers for me, is to commune with women in circles.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have a block. I have a block about it though. I do.
well, one of the things I was going to say that you're so good at is boundaries. Like you
Yeah.
are the rock star at setting boundaries, like
I'm
with
trying.
finesse and sometimes with like, yeah, with fuck you
I
energy. But either one,
know.
whatever it is, it's like, no, no, no. But like boundaries is your jam, dude. Like you got that. You got that in this lifetime for sure. And I would say that sometimes in that work, like, let's call it group work, a lot of boundaries have to just like
Ugh.
you gotta step in and out of it, if you will. And I would say, and I don't, kind of like sharing, like you shared with me about Landmark. One of the most powerful, whether I've had, after I did Tony Robbins, I had a Tony Robbins group that was male and female, men and women. We met every other week for 3 or 4 years. It was and
Wow.
fantastic. We would teach and remind each other of things. So one of my biggest breakthroughs came from that group. And it
Yeah.
wasn't even like, I wasn't having someone facilitate with me, but it's the work of other people. So I created a declaration out of somebody else's
Yeah.
stand for their life. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, if she can do it, I can do this. And I was like, like, holy shit, am I doing this? And I just declared it. And it was like, oh my God. And I sat down like, how am I going to do that? And that happens over and over again. Like out of the work of other people, I'm transformed and I choose to transform myself too. So that's just what's worked for me.
100%. And also what that just made me feel is because I was imagining what it would feel like for me to be in a group and to give and take and to share and to listen and to hold space, right? To hold space for other people and then for other people to hold space for me. That is a very uncomfortable situation for me.
Can
And
I
that
share?
probably means that's exactly what I need to do. Probably.
Here's what I think would, I don't want to say should, because that's not what I mean. I mean, okay, so like when I went to that retreat last weekend, I've been in those kind of women's circles, because there are a lot of group things that we're doing. There's individual things like that. Breath work was not like me doing it with a partner or anything. So that was individual, but the sharing of it was group. And I would say if you can create a good connection and a good sense of safety in the right ways, I mean, with the mind, not like, like the doors are shut or whatever, but like, and somewhere Landmark does a really good job of creating that context. So you feel like you've got a container to express. I mean, look at the things that you've seen people express at Landmark kind of thing. If you can find the women, whether consciously or unconsciously, you're like, I'm just going to dive into this thing and go over here and see and I'm going to be open. Or if you can choose the women that you bring together or you work with to come together, that can help you create that sense of openness.
Yeah. I'm open. As you're talking now, I'm all of the, just
Yeah.
the fear and I'm like, oh, but then this and then this and then this and all the reasons why no, you know what I mean? But so I'm just realizing as I'm talking, that really is something I need to not necessarily jump into a group, but start working through like, what am I really resisting and what am I afraid of? You know what I mean? For sure. Yeah, that's really interesting.
I think I would like put a pin in that
Yeah.
and just kind of say like, okay,
Yeah.
let me look at that because it's something in the mind. It's something in the subconscious. There's a space that was needed to create a little boundary or
Yes.
safeness
Right.
for you, whether it's, you had a dear girlfriend in high school that you opened up to and then she shared it or something, or you just, see how people are catty with each other, or you just hate gossip or whatever
I think
that.
I have an idea about what it is. Yeah. I think I
Okay.
do. Yeah.
Do you want to share about it now or do you?
I think well, what came up for me is that I am afraid that I'm going to get sucked into taking care of other people emotionally.
Oh,
And now, just as I said that out loud, I thought of my mother.
yeah.
And I remember my dad saying to me one time, like, I think when I was 16 or 17, my mom and I at that point had a really volatile, difficult relationship. At the time, let's say I was 16, she had a 1-year-old, right? She had a 1-year-old and she had an 8-year-old, right? And then me. And So she was going through it, right? But we would just fight, back and forth so bad. And I remember my dad saying to me one time, Joanna, I just need you to be the bigger person in this situation. I just need you. And I knew at the time that it wasn't right. I didn't know, I think, why it wasn't right. I know now how very clearly how that was not right. But I mean, so I think I have this fear of like dealing with these, like I even say it, these emotionally, or women who are not capable of regulating their own nervous system. And I just don't want to fucking touch it. I'm just like, you know what? You need to regulate. I'm going to regulate, you regulate. And I'm literally right now in this moment realizing all of this, like in a really clear way. Like I think I knew those pieces.
Yeah, it's right here. It's walking
Yeah.
around with you, but
Yeah.
like now it's right
Yeah.
here. Now it's right here. Oh yeah.
So I think the
Now
fear is I'll get into one of these groups and all of a sudden you're going to have a couple of really emotionally needy people in the group who are going to suck up everyone's time and like, not know how, and then it's like, but then, so, and on and on and on and on. So I get to look at that. I get to look at that. I mean, I don't want to necessarily keep getting into it right this second, but that's
yeah.
But this is an example of how talking with you helps me have like little like breakthroughs, like, just about my own life. But is it okay if we kind of complete this thought process right now?
And I honor that you got what you're supposed to get out of that. And we will, I'm sure, have other times to talk about it.
But thank you, by the way, that I think that's important for me to really see. But I am excited. I wanted to kind of also show the juxtaposition of you back to you with how you had this experience at this retreat in Big Sur. And then we're talking right now on this weekend. And then next weekend, you're going to like an electronic dance festival. What's it called? Lightning in a Bottle, right?
Yeah, lightning in a bottle. Yeah, my jam.
Tell me. I want to hear lightning in a bottle. Like, how many years have you gone? What you like about it? What you're looking forward to? Like,
oh, it's so yummy sharing about it. It just lights. I'll just share a little insight into something that I don't remember very much of, but I had a dear group of girlfriends, and I will share about lightning in a bottle, but what you just shared reminded me of this. I had a dear group of girlfriends in junior high school before I moved across the country, and we were just tight knit. And they used to call me JPW, Jolly Polly Wally. That was their name for me, JPW. It's because I just loved play and fun and like, don't take it so serious or something, like I can remember in college, being the person that would like pull my friends out of like doing their homework. I'm like, but let's go come on, let's go, and it's just, there's work to be done. I would get my homework done and whatnot, but I'm like, okay, let's go. And so lightning in a bottle feels like I get to go and hang out with all of those people that get me. They're like, hey, yeah, life is going on, but let's come here and bring all of our toys and goodies and whatever lights us up, and kind of like Landmark, like come out, but not, Landmark is very heady, it's very talk. And I would say there's a lot of permission at Lightning in a Bottle, this context they create for all kinds of beautiful self-expression of art, of consciousness, of meditation, of yoga, of, music and dance and clothing, people dress like everything, and it makes me happy to watch that, to get to interact with that. And it's sort of like you go through the gateway at Lightning in a Bottle and you can not be who society's like, okay, this is who you are. And this is all. And there's people that come in both ways. Like they already come in self-expressed. So they just walk in like, this is all of me. And I love them, cause they can go out and be in the world, but it's like, you get this permission, you go through the gate and it's like, hey, playtime, come out with your friends, get your roller skates on, put your face paint on, whatever, so And
I'm so jealous. I mean, to have, how many days are you going?
I usually go Thursday and come home Sunday. So yeah,
So-
it's the whole experience is Wednesday through Monday, and
Okay.
I go Thursday through Sunday. So,
Okay. And I just love that your kind of overarching theme of this is play, right? And that you get to just try on the playful like side where of you that doesn't have to think about deadlines or budgets or whatever, all the
yes,
things, right?
like the have tos, the shoulds, I mean the sexuality of it, the expression of it, the freedom of wear what you want, sleep with who you want, be where you want to go, whatever
Okay,
you
I'm
want to
so
do.
irritated I'm not going. But no, you and I have talked about this multiple times this spring because, of course, you're so amazing and been inviting us to go and reminding and inviting again and inviting again. But this particular year, for multiple different reasons, it just is not going to work out. But we're gonna just plan that next year it will be the first annual for our household to join for sure. But I am so excited for you because I mean this is the type of thing that I want to. It's the same as it's part of doing the work, right? You're still doing the work of practicing being in an environment and being around other people who are also practicing not being on a treadmill in a story, right?
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
4 days of being off the treadmill, out of your story, in play, totally joyful, all about connection and expression.
Yeah. Hell's yeah. Yeah. And that's what works for
I
me.
wanna
Like that is like ecstatic, it makes me ecstatic just thinking about it. And yeah, there's some people who are like, oh, whatever. Okay. It's my jam. People
You
have
mean
different
people
things.
you know are looking down on it? People you know and
No, I just, it's like some people would want to run a marathon and some people would say I'd never run a marathon, that kind of thing. I'm not saying anybody, I don't think I have anybody in my life that would be like, you're going to that? Like,
right.
they just wouldn't be in my life. They just,
And so how
but
many
my
years have you
friend, like, I'm around people who accept me for me, like I've
right,
chosen that, right?
right. And how many years have you gone
I think it was 2016 or 15.
when you
So
started?
6 or 7 times, something like that. It hasn't happened the last 2 years, but yeah.
So they canceled it the last 2 years?
Yeah, with COVID.
Uh,
Mhm. Yeah. That's all right.
yeah.
We're all excited to get back in. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
so
good.
and you're doing Burning Man this year, which is
Well, we're on the list for tickets, but that's really all that's happened so far.
mhm,
That might also be something that we plan a little more thoroughly and hit for next year.
right, right.
Last year was a heavy, heavy travel year. This year seems to be a little bit more grounding,
Mm,
with some personal projects and also grounding and connecting with family in ways that need to happen.
of course.
Um, and so I'm kind of just trying to honor that and really allowing myself to stay in one place and stay grounded and you know, be in that mode because I was the opposite of that mode last year. We were going anywhere and everywhere. Last year we went to Costa Rica twice and, we went to an ayahuasca retreat last summer. We went to multiple places in Mexico. So it was a lot of different things. And this year it was like really about, there are some things we want to dig into.
Mhm.
And yeah, so this is just I'm just kind of just trying to honor what's kind of showing up in that way right
For
now for
sure. Yeah,
that.
and and if this were at a different time of year, you'd probably be like, "Oh, I'm all over it." But it's timing, and it's
Yeah.
meant to be the cycle that you're in right now in life. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that doesn't fit in my current cycle, and that's okay.
Right. Right. but I'm excited for you.
Oh,
And
thank you. I should check here. I have my little stash over here of all the things that I pre-ordered for Lightning in a Bottle. So this is one of them. These are my little glitter pods.
oh my God, what do you do with the glitter pod?
I don't know yet, but I just was like, I'm just
I
like,
don't know.
yeah, I've got it in all kinds of colors. I'm like,
So
okay,
wait, do you put it, do you like squeeze it on your body or something?
oh yeah, it's body glitter. It's full
Oh,
on
it's
body
body
glitter.
glitter.
And this is the kind, and I got this one because of this. Wait, I haven't used the purple yet. I did the clear. Let's see what happens here.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
Little
Okay,
star.
are you bringing your motorhome?
I'm bringing the fun bus. Yeah, she's
The fun bus?
outside. She needs to get clean. She's a little dirty, which she's going to get even more dirty next weekend. But
And who are you going with?
so my friend Jill, who did the retreat,
Oh, she's going.
yep, who's newly out of divorce, which is fabulous time if you ask me to go to Lightning in a Bottle. That was kind of like shortly after my divorce that I went Lightning in a Bottle. My friend Ariel and Nissa, who are part of one of my women's circles. So I've been, intimately getting to know them, and we do work together. Gosh, we started this 9 years ago. So
Wow. Your women's circle?
Yeah, this particular women's circle. We stopped meeting regularly, which is why I created another women's circle in the last year. But I still have them as close friends. And like the retreat, 3 of us were there out of our 5. So yeah, so I get
Wow.
yeah, it's good.
Wow.
Mhm.
And just back to this women's group thing. How often are you meeting? How often are you getting together?
So the new women's circle that I created last summer, almost a year now, we meet every other Sunday for 3 hours, 1 to 4, so 3 hours. And the work we're doing right now, since how many chakras are there? 7?
Yeah.
7 chakras? Okay,
Yeah.
so we've been working on the 7 chakras. So this Sunday is the 7th chakra. So we've just been working our way up. So ding, the highest one, the crown chakra this Sunday. And then we'll do other things, But one of the women that I invited into it is master teacher. She's just amazing facilitator. And she was honored to come in and, be in the space to practice her work, because she was sort of, with COVID, things, were quiet and everybody was kind of not hermiting, but just, we couldn't interact as much and stuff. So when we created the women's circle and I invited her, just thinking she'd be great at the calling that the women who I first organized it with had was like, we tried it kind of self-facilitated, like, oh, and then the conversations would just sort of weave. And it was like, I'm not really getting there, we're not getting, and it's great to have little exercises or prompts or an activity or a question, whatever that looks like to do the work. And so she brought that, and it's been wonderful. She's teaching us that she's a PhD in freaking metaphysics. I'm like,
No.
yeah, I need to learn some of what you know. Yeah.
So she creates some framework of somewhat of a curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah, so she started leading women's. So she was part of a goddess circle that started 35 years ago. So her and like 6 women, or 6 of them total, they still know each other today. They still get together, not like in person and stuff but you get around these women. I've been in the room with like 3 of the 6 at the same time, and they're just like there's a freaking bond. I'm like,
right.
Oh. So they started in Santa Barbara 35 years ago. All of them called. I don't know how they knew each other or lightly knew of each other. And they said they were all called to do the work of the goddess, to sort of transform feminine energy and bring it into and I was like,
my God.
What yeah. And yeah. And so as I learned about them and that work, I was like, part of what I've been manifesting in the last 2 years is the transference of feminine wisdom up and down from generation,
Yes.
like I just got a clear download. Like there's so much wisdom, and I don't just mean in my community, but in the world, there's so much feminine wisdom of, and I'm not excluding masculine wisdom, but I'm just saying
it's okay. We can for a little bit. It's
in
all right.
that line of feminine wisdom. I'm like transferring it down and like just and back up. It's not just one direction.
That's what I was going to say is I'm finding it both ways, these intergenerational friendships.
So
With people where you are friends with people who are younger than you and older than you, and it goes like this. So,
yeah.
but back to this woman, Polly. So she is part of your group as a participant, or is she specifically in the group to lead it?
More so to lead it, but she sees herself like she's not like on a pedestal or anything like that. She just has gifts, and she's honored to share as a facilitation. I mean, she creates guided meditations for us every week that we can listen
No.
to as part of. I mean, yeah, she's just amazing. Amazing.
And this is all volunteer.
Yes. I mean, like, yeah, jaw drop, like mic drop. What? Okay, yeah, come do that for us, please. I mean, Joe, this is how like life shows up for me. It's like, hey, Linda, do you want to be a part of this group? And would you? And she's like, yeah, I would love to. I'm like, oh, so
That's
good,
amazing.
so good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing. She
Wow.
taught. So at the line when Landmark was early day, or I think it was started like what in the 60s or 70s or whatever. She was like early days 80s, traveling around the world, and like another tier of Landmark. So like I think she did some of the early Est work, and then created her own. And she used to facilitate around the world in Peru and Europe. And I'm like, yes, she walked across the United States twice barefoot with no money and nothing in her hand, like as in like in her early 20s, like 20 years old, doing like she would sit and meditate for hours. She had walked with many teachers, and like it's great. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And how did you meet her?
Um, how did I first meet her? I know who she knows that I know that I think introduced us, but I don't remember exactly. So a dear friend of mine that I know, she's in that women's 35, knowing I know this woman who is a good friend of hers because they were in that women's circle. And so just having met her through her. Do you see my purple glitter as I move?
Oh no, because I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, okay. I'm like, as I'm talking, it's like my purple glitter is moving. I might need to put some on my face by the end of the day. So
So
we'll
that
see.
you should. That is amazing. If I knew a women's circle could have somebody like that in it leading it, I would go.
Okay, then just say that.
Yeah.
Just say that's what I'd like.
Yeah, that's what I'd like. That's what I'd
Yeah.
like.
And you shall have it. Good.
I want to touch base on, I'm glad you brought it up because I wanted to talk about it with you. I don't think we have really talked about this, you and I, but you mentioned like being divorced and like going to LIB, and that's a fun time to go to LIB. And you went shortly after you got a divorce, and we're both divorced and we're both 50.
Fabulous. Yeah.
And I mean, right. I mean, I just kind of want to open up a discussion about like, it is fabulous. It is amazing. And this is one of the things I would like to be is an example of how it can look, right? How life can look. When you thought it was going to look a completely different way. I mean, and looking out into the abyss of the rest of our life and not, being married, and do you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, I don't think you and I have ever really talked about our divorces and kind of like what that feels like to be somebody in their mid to late 40s getting a divorce. And then what that kind of feels like as you look out into the future.
There's some things in my life that are just so easy and clear, and other things not so. And that's just so easy and clear for me. Like I don't give a fuck. Like it came, it went, okay, And like I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, I wonder what we're going to talk about. And I was so clear.
Oh my God.
These next 20 years, Joe, are like I just feel myself, and I say this not with like masculine energy, but like passionate feminine energy, like crushing it. Like
Yeah.
I can't wait for the next 20 years. Like so many learn that. Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do him. Don't do that. Whatever. All that stuff. It's like, okay, I'm more clear now. And like, I have independence and it's like,
So,
yeah,
but I just want to underscore what you just said because it was so good. You said about being, it came and it went, I'm clear. It came, it went, I'm good. It's like, for me, I feel that way now. And those things where those decisions, I'm not saying that it was this way for you. It was this way for me, but decisions in life where you stress so much about them because they're a big decision and you worry and you fret and you ruminate and you go round and round and round, maybe for years in my case, about this decision. Do I stay in the marriage? Is the marriage done? What da 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 da. And then the second you get on the other side of it, the second you make the decision is in the rear view. I mean, literally the day the decision is behind you, you're like,
oh,
oh my God. Like the hardest part
exact
of
same
that whole
experience.
thing was
Yeah.
what?
Exact same experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can remember talking to my coach about divorce and I was trying to pick up because he wasn't like, you should get divorced because like, that's not what they say. But I was like,
know.
what is he saying? I'm trying to like figure out, is he saying I should?
Tell me. Tell me what
I'm
to
like,
do. Just tell me what to do.
because I was so much cultural baggage, so much inherited conversation about,
So what was that saying to you? What was that saying to you?
oh God,
The
well, you
programming. What
promised,
was the programming saying?
yeah, you promised all this and what will people think? And, you should be working on this instead of giving up and whatever, and probably 30 other things that, like you said, for months, I remember, my ex and I, we had a clear path because, there was years of mismanaging the relationship. And, one of the things I say is I a little bit, with kid gloves, hold the compassionate younger self in me and say, you married his potential, honey. You didn't marry
Mm,
the man that you're with. You married his
mm.
potential because he spoke some things that were, speaking to my heart, like the work he wanted to do around animals and changing the world and helping. And I was like, oh, I would support that. Get after that. And I would support it the next month and the next month and the next year. And it just wasn't. And I was like, okay, let me take some of these like glasses off and whatnot. And I did. And so we're at this point where I remember in January, we had sort of like a coming together and going, okay, we are going to work on our relationship this next 6 months and we're either going to be together or we're going to be divorced in 6 months. I hope it's okay that I tell this whole story.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay
January
with
to
me.
do like
I don't
kind
know
of
if
like a
it's okay
June
with him.
1. So I don't remember when it happened, but this is before I had ever been to Tony Robbins, right? Had ever done anything. Somehow in the middle of that, Tony Robbins, something came up and I was like, I'm going to that. Let's do it. I forget. So in April, we go to Tony Robbins, do an amazing, still today, this day, one of my it's called the Dickens process, one of the most transformative. I put myself into that process over and over again because I love it so much. And I put it into my eating disorder program because I love the work that it does. So we go there and it was like so clear, like dark clear, like, oh God, I should not be in this relation. I should not. I am not meant to be in this relationship. I am not going to do this for the next 5 years with him. No, hell, no way. And then the fucking shame and grief of like, I have to tell him, like, and I did. And so that night we're at Tony Robbins, we're together for 3 or 4 days, all this stuff. And you can't walk around with that decision for very long.
No.
You can't. Like once it's like, oh, we'll just go for 4 more months of like, I know, and I have to say it. You can't. So that night I did. Well, we reconciled and said, well, let's give it, I think, another 30 days. And I was
did.
What am I doing? What am I doing? And we tried, and it was like, so clear. Like, no, but the decision had been made. And so it was easy as those 30 days. It was like more space, more clarity. No, oh, hell no. And so, 30 days. I was like, I'm on a plane to Fiji because I chose to do Tony's extended stuff. I'm on a plane to Fiji. He's moving out. There we go. So there's more to it.
And so for you, it was all just like more of a feeling of freedom and expansion and empowerment is what I'm hearing.
Not in the beginning.
So tell me what it was like.
6 months. The first six. So we separated in, I think it was like mid-May or something like that. And, he had offered to start the divorce process. And I was like, let's just do it. Like this will be fat. Like I'm very clear. We're both hurting, whatnot, but I didn't know what post-divorce was going to look like or whatever. But I was like, oh, you just sort of sign some papers and it'll be done. Right. Well, he dragged his heels kind of like he did in life and in our relationship. And that just drug on. And I'm like, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? Cause I wanted like, let's have some finality here. So I don't know. It was like come October or whatever, nothing had been done. So I filed. I was like, okay, well, let's just get this started. And that started. And it wasn't until December. And I don't remember exactly what else. Oh, no, it was around Thanksgiving. So it was in November. I can remember, like, I think that week of Thanksgiving, sitting at home one night, because there was just a lot of sadness, kind of like my life was on pause until the divorce or whatnot, or I gave myself permission to be happy again, because you kind of fall back and forth into the grieving and what could have been and did I make the wrong choice? A lot of flip-flops and what ifs or what happened, and that sort of self exploration of what that was about. And then one night I had like a binge watching of romantic, cheesy comedies or something, cried so good, like cried, and just was like, whatever. And the next day I was like, oh, I'm good. Where's the men? And then it was on. And then I was like, okay, I'm back. Like, let's play, So that's kind of how it went. So,
do you see yourself getting married again?
No, I don't see any need for that. It's more like I like to see it as just contract now. And that's kind of how it's seen in California. The marriage and culture has other connotations, but being married to me is just a contract. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have any need for that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept, this whole idea of a contract, that marriage is a contract, like legitimately a contract that you're agreeing to all these sets of rules and regulations based on the state law in which you get married, that nobody reads the contract.
Yeah.
Nobody ever reads the contract. They just think they're agreeing to be with this person and that they're legally together, and then you sign this thing, but you're actually signing this contract of all of these rules and regulations that are part of the law. And you're taking on someone else's, you're taking on their good, the bad, the ugly, and all the unknown.
Yeah.
Legally.
Inside the context, like you said, of the document or body of documents that created the law in your state. Like who's to say? Like who's to say, And when I went into our marriage, I didn't do the traditional I do kind of ceremony, I did it with a native ceremony, or I actually like worked with a shaman and we made it up, and it was inspired by the 4 directions, it was bringing together the 4 directions. So there was no I do. But yet how, like right after that moment, you go and sign the marriage license or whatever. I was like, oh shit. Well, didn't find out until the divorce started happening. Oh, what am I bound to?
That's right.
Like,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I just listened
This is some women's wisdom we need to pass down.
I know. So I listened to a podcast a couple weeks ago. I don't know if I told you about this. The podcast is called Girls Gotta Eat. And they did this episode with the #1 divorce attorney, I think out of Los Angeles. It's a woman. And but she does a lot of education around prenuptial agreements, because if you have a prenuptial agreement, that would supersede the law in your state. So in other words, you can look at the law in your state and say what happens when you're married and decide, I'm okay with half of those, but I'm not okay with the other half. So I'm going to just create a document that defines, what our contract is, right? So a prenuptial agreement is a contract between 2 people that would supersede the state laws. As long as you're not breaking any laws, right? Anyway, it was so educational for me, just with the idea that when you get married, you sign this contract that nobody ever reads. And that you're agreeing to like a whole list of hundreds of things that you have no idea what you're agreeing to. And just like what you said, you don't even think about those things until you start the divorce process. Then you're like, oh my God. So this idea of, being married at this point, it really is a contract, right? And it's like, if you want the benefits, because there are benefits in the marriage contract, right?
Sure.
The ability for somebody to be with you in a hospital room or, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of other benefits,
Yeah.
but I don't know what they are. Anyway,
Right. No, totally.
there's benefits to having in that contract, but you can create your own contract, and it can be completely outside of the government, outside of anything, and you guys can just come have, if you wanted a long-term partnership that had some benefits, right? Some legal advantages with maybe health insurance or life insurance or power of attorney or again, hospital, what do they call that? Or healthcare directives and things like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Or if you guys had kids, custody or things like this, or
Absolutely.
animals. I mean, it's good to have those things in contract form, I think, if you're going to have a long-term relationship. Otherwise, the government takes care of it for you. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know in California if there's such a thing called common law marriage. Is that in California?
I haven't looked at it in a while. I think so.
I
I
think there
forget
is.
what
So it's
some,
like, even if you live with somebody for a certain amount of time in certain states,
it starts to,
it starts to all of a sudden become a
starts to
legal
create
binding
its own
contract.
contract.
It's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Like,
yeah, my experience too was with being married. I mean, I really for sure thought that was my forever till the day I die. Like I saw no future that did not.
yeah,
I didn't.
yeah, yeah.
And I think for a long time I struggled with how to not be miserable. How to not be miserable
Mhm.
inside of something that I thought was forever.
Yeah.
Can you
And
imagine living your life that way, trying to figure out how not to be miserable in your forever?
no, Joanna, just think of the women that are immersed in the paradigm of the 50s in a 40 to 50 year, 30, 40, 50-year relationship based on a paradigm that they inherited 50 years ago. And you're right, like the decay of the soul, the disease that gets created in the body from that struggle, that day-to-day friction of I'm not living a life of any amount of, like maybe there's pockets of pleasure or they numb or they shop to feel better, whatever. But no, that's not what your podcast is about. That's not what we're about.
No. And I think about like I am so in love with my boyfriend. Like I am so
Oh,
completely like in with this relationship. But I say to myself, why would people get married? You get married so you feel like you're secure that somebody will stay with you because you're married, or that somebody would take care of you if you were sick, if they would do that if you were married, or that like I tried to go through the checklist of things. I mean, obviously there are some positive things like we just talked about. First of all, financial security or certain privileges with custody or healthcare or there are some
yeah.
things. But it's like if I have to have a contract with somebody so that I feel that we're going to stay together, or that
No.
no thank you. Like
Yeah.
it's like I was taught this concept by, I don't know if I think I've mentioned to you this woman named Jessa Reed, who has a podcast that I've been kind of obsessed with for the last 3 years. She had one of her podcasts, she talks about love. She kind of like has this whole, hour or 2 hours about love. And I learned about this concept from her called open-handed love. It's, I'm sure you've heard this described in a bunch of different ways, but for me, the way she described it, it was like a big, huge aha moment for me. This was just as I was getting a divorce. This idea of open-handed love, that if you love someone, you instead of holding on to them, right? Instead of like squeezing and holding, that you hold this amazing person and this love and this essence in an open-handed fashion.
Yeah.
And you can admire it and encourage it and support it and love it and do all the things with the open hand, and allow it to be what it wants to be, right?
Yeah.
And that is really, it's kind of the old saying about if you love something, set it free, or, if it comes, it's kind of all in the same thing, but I just love this visual of holding the love in the open hand and allowing it to just be in your life. And then, creating, if contracts need to happen around certain things in life in order to gain certain benefits, I can see that for sure. And of course, in any relationship, you and I are in relationship. Relationship specifically means that it's with another person. So it's like that person is going to have their own ideas of what they want and what's going to make them feel empowered or secure or whatever. So it's like you also have to, it's a negotiation, right? It's like, I'm 50, divorced, been there, done that. And I'm, like you say, super clear. But then depending on who we're in relationship with,
Yeah.
how have you found that? What's coming up for you when I bring that stuff up?
I would say the relationship I'm in now, which is the first one following my divorce.
Is it really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. First commit, put back into relationship, like, oh, I don't want to see anybody else kind of relationship for the last 5.5 years. We don't have plans to get married. We don't see the need for it. We talk, actually we were just talking about, building into our trusts, ways to take care of each other, like we're having those conversations like you would a married person, or, your kids get these benefits and I would get these benefits, or, so we have those conversations like we're the same kind of partnership. I think, one of the things I think is so beautiful is in that women's wisdom is I've had the ability to see, and you see so many paradigms that people live in of relationship that are outside the white bread, Catholic kind of paradigm. That there was this one little video that went across Facebook or something like that. And it was like these, I'll call them gay couples, men and men, women and women, with their kids. And they were like sharing love with their kids. And then like they'd kiss and they'd blow a kiss. And then the next video would be like the people from the next video caught the kiss and they were, two gay guys kissing on their little baby and stuff like that. And they told to the next one. It's like, and that's what relationship looks like in their world. Just because we don't see that on TV every day or in the news or whatever, it's not around us all the time. It's there and it's happening. And I can remember meeting a woman probably in her 70s, like 10 years ago. And she's like, yeah, my husband and I, we have our separate houses. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Tell me about that. What does that mean? And the more I've seen it and heard it, the more I look for it. So the more I see it, and right. My partner, we don't live in the same house, but we have a, great relationship. And we're, it's like actually, and it's flexible and it's changed. We have at times lived together and now we live apart, but we're not apart in our relationship. We're not seeing other people. It's just physically like, I like this little space and, oh, I like this little space, Yeah. And so I think the more we give ourselves our own permission to discover what is true for us in all areas, not just a relationship, but it's just unpacking the inherited stuff that isn't ours to carry.
Right. Unpacking it. Yeah. The programming. What has been taught to me that I should be involved in, that I should be following, that I should be doing compared to making it all up. Do you remember, that just reminded me about a book, The Art of Possibility. Do you remember that book, The Art of Possibility?
I remember reading it, but you'd have to talk a little bit more about it. It like what it was about kind of blends with. Another one.
I remember reading this book, and it was after Landmark. So it was probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 years after Landmark Forum. And I read this book, and I was like, this feels like Landmark stuff. I mean, it was,
Yeah. You can always smell it. You're like,
yeah, I'm like,
Landmark.
And it was this really clever book. It to this day, it is one of my favorite books of all time. The Art of Possibility. Okay, so good. But I remember one of the chapters is, it's all made up. It's all made up. Like, it's all made up.
Totally.
It's all made up.
So much. That applies to so much.
It's all made up. And therefore, make it up.
Please, dear God, people.
Right?
Yeah, make it up the way you want, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the only real problem with that is like, not everybody in the world knows that.
Ding, 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 ding.
You're like, okay, yeah, it's all made up and I can make it up, but everyone else I'm around, it's like,
Yeah. And I shine the light on myself where I fall into it too. I forget I'm caught in my own story, and it's okay, wait, let me come out of that. I'm dipped down into my old story. I've dipped down into struggle. I've dipped down into what ought to be, or, who I think I am or whatever. And I was like, oh, whoops, wait, and catching it, man, catch it.
Yeah.
Early.
Right. Yeah. Catching yourself go into that. So it's like these little mini waking up and falling asleep, right? Like, I'm awake, I'm asleep, I'm awake, I'm asleep. Oh shit, I was asleep for a long fucking time. Okay, right? Like this. And like, why can't I remember to stay awake?
Yeah. Well, it's because we have 5 senses, and this life is so engrossing. It's beautifully captivating to us as a soul. We designed this and this apparatus, whatever, to give us the opportunity to tactile, to visual, to sense and smell and emote, and it's by design so that we interact with this goo or dream or whatever you want to call this, and so you are prone to being engulfed in it because it's like you're in the matrix, you're in the program or whatever, and you're helping all of consciousness, aren't we, with the things that we come interact with. We go, oh, don't want that, want this, that type of thing. I'm moved to share something that I've been muddling on recently, if I can.
Yeah.
I think this is a segue for it. For many years, I have had the paradigm of, as someone, and maybe like you, who's sought a lot of growth, we seek out programs and books and teachers and podcasts and whatever, therapy and stuff like that, like growth. And right. And I've talked to some of my clients when I was doing a lot of coaching about, well, life is a classroom and we're all students here, and people are in different grades and we're all just learning different things. And so I was going through this program of like growth, which I love. I mean, I still, I'm going to LIB partly for the fun, but like, I know there'll be like pops and wows and things that will grow me as well. And doing the retreat last weekend. But I started, I think I was on a run or a walk the other day, and it started to like crack open to, and I remember Abraham has this beautiful 3-line quote that I probably couldn't put my finger on very quickly, and maybe I'll send it to you or something for your show notes or something, but it's like, life is whatever. And I can remember part of the lines, like I would highlight when I would write this little notes to myself, and it would say joy, growth, and like freedom, right? But I would get out of order of which one is which. And I just explained the story of like, oh, growth was really how I saw life. And what I've been unwinding in that is the other part of it, the joy that Abraham talks about. And I'm like, wait, no, I think the way Abraham says it is the like why we're here, let's call it the purpose, is the joy. And like one of the outcomes is growth, like growth is natural. And what that means to me, Joe, lately is a little bit of what I was sharing in the beginning about, I thought I was supposed to be over here. And it's like, oh no, I'm like this, because when my life was about growth, the lanes were divided and I was trying to get over, and I had to grow in order to get over here to be in joy. Like joy was happening over here and I was in growth. So I could get over here, learning a lot. And then when I merged these two, what I got was, as we were talking about in the beginning, is no, let's remember like the purpose, or what we really as souls in this experience want is the joy of the moment, of the struggle, of the loss, of the grief, of the celebration, of the love, of the, inspiration, of all the things. Like, that's why we're here. I think now what I'm getting is, as a 50-year-old woman, like discovering more layers of herself, is the growth is me unpacking what keeps me from that.
Oh,
Me letting go of what's in the way of the joy, me remembering that something from a long ago, like you said, like you remember that time when your dad told you, Joe, you need to be like this, and that stayed with you, and that sort of hindered your joy, that made you be a certain way, or that taught you something about how to go about in the world. Where if that wasn't present, meaning like if the growth was, I need to let it go, I need to surrender to who I really am, the joy can actually be there, can exist, can grow, can expand, can be felt by me as the human. And I'm like more committed now to growth as a means of experiencing more joy, to not growth as the outcome, not growth as like the perpetuation, but instead growth is me letting go of, shedding, unpacking, peeling away the layers of the things that are my true nature, are my joy jam, like what's joyous in my life, what I love. And it's those little scars, those little memories, those things I picked up along the way that are on top of it, like little crystals or encrusted joy. And I'm taking those off and going, oh no, that's not supposed to be with me the rest of my life, And like the joy is giving more space to it, and remembering that as the purpose is the joy in the moment that I take with me and I go into life. And so when I bump up against a growth opportunity, fucking okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's grow. Let's shed. Like you said, like how can I remember to stay awake? Those types of things, because I really want to feel joy, right? I really want to be expressed. And so that's what's I'm starting to be in the phase of this life, is not growth. Like I don't know enough, or I need to learn something, but I almost need to unlearn something I picked up along the way.
yes.
You get that?
Yes. The unlearning. But also, I'm really feeling into this joy. And also, like, are you also saying, or is part of what you're saying, that the joy the joy can be the path to growth? Is that what, is that part of what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying like joy is, it's not the destination, because some people say, oh, you have to grow in order to feel good and be happy, or joy or something. But it's more, it's always there. And the growth is recognizing when I'm not in it, or when I step out of it, or what I'm doing, or what I'm thinking, or the story
joy
that
is always there.
I've caught. Yeah. But
so
I've
you're
caught myself
tapping into the
like,
joy.
Like a little tiny example of this, and there's many that I'm sure that you can share as well, is, so I have someone who's doing a little project at a house for me, and the person was supposed to do XYZ today, right? And one of the things involved bringing a dump truck to this particular house. I know this is rudimentary, but follow me here. And I get a text this morning. The dump truck isn't working, so I'm going to do XYZ, and we're going to have to come back on Monday. And in that moment, I got caught in life should be. This isn't supposed to happen. Damn dump truck, whatever. Like, and I caught it because I was in a beautiful moment. I was holding on to my joy coming up right at first thing in the morning. And I said, nope, not going to let you sit on my joy. And I was like, it like bounced off. It was like, blink, okay, fine. Monday's fine, Monday's fine. And so that's kind of like a little example of, the trigger happened. I recognized and I said, no, what's most important? What do I want in this moment? I want to stay in my joy. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of who's this contractor? Why is this dump truck? No. Can't he find one other one? Whatever.
But right, what you just said right there, you don't want to go down this road, because what it really is, right, it's a distraction, right? It's the trigger that triggers a distraction away from the joy. What you're saying, the joy is always there. Triggers happen to us all day long, like the arrows, right? And it just pops you right off your game and distracts us from staying in that,
Yeah.
in what the natural state is of should be awe and joy, right? Wow.
Yeah, love, whatever you want to call it, like whatever that yummy word is for
Yeah.
people, joy, just giving
Yummy.
us permission to owning my joy. Like I'm
Wow.
gonna hold on to, I want to go out into the world with a happy heart today, and
Yeah.
your dump truck isn't going to, take out my joyous day, my heartfelt day,
You're not gonna get me off my mark. You're not gonna, you're not
Yeah,
gonna get
now
me.
that was that was a smaller example, and I'm
Wow.
sure there's bigger meteors that can hit my joy, or
Yeah, for
like something,
sure.
So.
But it's all what that kind of makes me think too of is, how this idea of abundance, of how it's been taught to me or explained to me, or the way I have understand abundance to be is that this never-ending river flowing of abundance that's always flowing, and all we have to do is dip into it. It's always there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it feels like. What you're saying about joy is that there's always the natural state of things is joy and awe and appreciation of the present moment. It is always there for us to access. We always have direct and instantaneous access to the joy. But we're just like, it's like, what's the game? What's the game with the balls?
Ping pong?
Pinball?
Pinball?
Pinball. You pull the ball and it bing, bing,
Right.
bing, 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 and
Yeah.
it is bing, 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 bing. And you're like, and you're just triggered. We're just triggered all day long. Little micro triggers, right? Little micro triggers, but all we're doing is reacting. And what did that mean? And how do I feel about myself? And how do I feel about them? And am I happy to them? And then we're just like off on this, hitting against all the bumpers.
Problems. Yeah, first world problems, dude. Yeah.
As opposed to just staying in that undercurrent of joy and abundance and awe and just because it is, right? So is what you're saying, Polly, is the answer to all of this is to take microdose of mushrooms every day. Is that the answer?
Thank you for summing it up. No.
That's the message I'm getting from you.
Okay.
Is to take mushrooms every day.
Let me just get to the real point. Totally. For sure.
I mean, wouldn't that be amazing if there was? I mean, that's the whole thing. Is we can pretend there is a button, right? We can pretend there is a pill. We can pretend there is a dropper.
It's all made up anyway.
It's all made up.
Yeah.
I should just put a little dropper of nothingness on my tongue every day and go, I'm microdosing.
That's because 60-80% of that is placebo anyway. So yes. Yeah, for sure. Just take out your little aired bottle and just have a way. God damn it, Right? And one thing I'm getting as we're talking that's louder for me that I just want to share is when I think about the, let's call them the joy warriors of the world who have walked and still walk this planet of like the commitment to truth, their joy, their like what lights them up. Like I love Oprah or, like oh my gosh, what's the teacher in Nepal? Blah, blah, blah.
In Nepal?
Oh, no. He was extricated from, his home is in Nepal, but anyway.
The Dalai Lama?
Yes, the Dalai Lama. Why can't I come up with that word? But like these people that I think the more you get better at the bouncing off and not being like sucked in. It's like it gets bigger and it gets more momentum. It's like it fills up more space in you. And so it's like little things, they just, okay. Yeah. Like you can handle bigger problems, let's say, because the people I see that are more balanced, grounded, well within themselves, they can like bigger problems they can take on because like I got this.
Yes. And this is also making me think of the book that you recommended to me.
The Untethered Soul.
Yeah, The Untethered Soul, exactly. I'm going to say it more clearly. The Untethered Soul, yes. Because it's like, what's the distinction of the book? The book is, let me see if I can articulate it and then you correct me. So The Untethered Soul is the thoughts and the experiences of the person, and then there's the awareness outside that those feelings, sensations, emotions are happening. There's the awareness of it. Is that the distinct? I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a more succinct
That's
way of
exactly
saying it.
No, that's exactly it. One of the words that I'll add to that is he calls it the seat of self.
The
The
seat
seat
of self.
of self. So like he kind of describes it anyway in the book, and I picture it like our consciousness, our seat of self, like if we like look through these eyes and like have an experience of it, but we're like back here. It's almost like we're in the super close stadium of our self, watching the experience this personality is having, you know.
And it's both. It's it's
Yes.
not one or the other, right? Like we are both. And not to go back to Jessa Reed, but if I haven't told you about her, shame on me because anyway, because
Like
she
what,
talks.
like you were saying earlier, people need to tell me these things, right?
I know.
Yeah.
She explains it as if a video game, as if you're the avatar in the video game. At the
Ah.
same time, you are the person directing the avatar and watching the whole game happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, it's so interesting how so many different types of people can explain this phenomenon that surely must be what's happening, right? And then that's really what the awake and asleep is, right? It's like we get absorbed in the game, we get absorbed in this experience, but then we back out and we're like, oh my God, I'm aware that this is happening, right?
Yeah.
And
And I think the more we can bring that heartfelt, like I think some of what the masters have done is they take that joy or whatever you want to call it, their truth, their connection to who they are with them into the game. It's almost like they're able to not see
right.
themselves as an avatar, but they are the consciousness and the avatar or something like that.
Yes.
And it comes through them in this life experience, not as a, oh, look at little, I mean, I'm sure Oprah has like micro moments and many moments that where she's like, oh, why did I do that? No, we're still a human bouncing around in this life growing, but like they have learned more of
Right.
being their whole self in those moments. Yeah.
It's like instead of being asleep in the dream, they're awake in the dream. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I just wanted to share some of that. And that's where it's like,
so good.
I'm getting that new distinction of growth and joy. It's like, no, growth is just part of it, but damn it, like the joy and it's, a life well lived, live with your whole self, whatever you want to call it, like be as happy as you can be, right? There's things that are going to take us out and there's struggles and challenges in life, but like live with that happy heart. One of the things you asked me before we started the recording in your notes is like, what's your motto or anything like that? And, one I picked up last year was, live a life you love, like live a life you love. Right. And one of the things I was writing in my journal this morning is I love my life. I love my life. All the messy, yucky, beautiful parts of it, people in it, myself included, love this life, like, damn it. And it's not over here. It's happening fucking now. I'm in it. Like, yes. I say yes to these things, the things that I want and I don't want. No, I say yes to them all.
Mm-hmm.
To them all. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How about you? Do you have a motto or
for me, it is definitely that I'm very present with the idea that my physical time here is extremely limited. Both of my parents dying prematurely, of cancer, that just always had a very kind of ever present, ticking clock.
Yeah.
And specifically turning 50 because my father died at 49 years old. And so for me, turning 50 was pivotal and important for like 30 different reasons. One of them was I have now lived longer than my father. And it was important for me to like cross that threshold. But so I've always had this kind of literal not literal, that's dumb to say it was literal, but ticking clock. And just this it seems like since I think for the last 5 years or so, it's been really even more present where I've tried to integrate this philosophy, not in a morbid way, but in a like, you're dying, Joanna. Like you're dying. We're all dying. And we are dying. We're decaying every single day. And at least our physical bodies are. And I think about how I have less time in front of me than I have behind me, right? And I think at the same time, like how fast, right, that the time behind me has gone. And I have less of it in front of me. And so my philosophy every day is don't waste much time in any given day being in an unhappy environment, being unhappy in relationships, spending time with people, that are taking away from your experience as opposed to adding to it.
Right.
And do something every day that makes you happy, that you can feel joy. I mean, my thing really has been just to embrace how much I love dancing and try to incorporate that every single day into my life. Usually it's for 5 or 10 minutes. It's not like an hour or something like that, but I can be in a state, feeling some stress or some anxiety or some consternation, and I have this planned time frame not every day, but multiple times per week where I do physical movement, physical exercise. And I always start out with dancing. I put some amazing music on and I start dancing. And I mean, it is almost instantaneous, like 30 seconds. Where I feel completely transformed. And so I really am a big believer in the power and the transformation power of dance, of free-formed, dance expression, which is reason number 563 that I'm irritated I'm not going to LIB this year, but just to be able to dance for 4 days straight, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I think it's every day. It's don't let the programming of life keep you from doing things every single day that make you happy. And that can be from enjoying the food you want to enjoy, or doing the creative project that you want to do just for the joy of doing the creative project, or dancing in a room by yourself with your headphones on, so yeah, for me, it's just literally doing something every single day that I would be like, I'm doing it today. If today was my last day, if this was my last year, am I using this precious time and this precious experience? Yeah. And I hate to use the word wisely, because that feels like it's a job. Like, am I really jumping into the deep end of the pool and like experiencing it, because it's limited until I get to do the next thing, right? I mean, that's the other thing, is not thinking like this is it. This is this experience. And then when this experience gets its completion, I get to go do something else totally fun, Yeah. And just trusting in that whole situation. I don't know.
I love it. And I would add a PS for myself to that it also for me looks like simple moments of that connection with peace, because some days I can't always do joy or, whatever, just maybe that's an excuse. I get it. But one thing I was noticing the other day, as I was talking about, these two lives, I would be very impatient trying to get over to this other life, right? Like something would show up, like this dump truck conversation I had earlier. I'd have been like, no, this needs to get done because I've got other things I've got to get done so that like I can go live my life. Well, now I'm finding, like, I was in line for something. I think it was like at Home Depot or something, because we're doing this project. I'm in line at Home Depot, and you can tell this is going to take a little while. Like, you can see people's carts. You're in this path, like it's not going to just happen like that. And in that moment, I could have gone, like you can hear the chatter wanting to come up and start taking away the joy. And like I caught it, and I went, no, wait, where's the joy in this moment? And I looked down and there's some beautiful succulents sitting right there. And I was like, that's where I'm going to put my focus. I was like, this all is going to happen. Like, I'm not going to like go, hey, can I cut in front of you guys? Like, I got places to be. Like I'm not going to lose my shit here at Home Depot. Right. But I was like, but I have a choice. And I was like, where am I going to put my focus? And I looked and there's sunlight hitting these little succulents and a little, I was all, there you are. There I am.
100%. I mean, what I hear you, what I envisioned you doing is just releasing that about to just come in and distract you from the joy in the moment. And you like, oh, hi. And you released it. But something about what you said was choosing to put your focus on the succulents of where in this environment can I tune into the joy. It just reminded me of my friend Tiffany. I saw on her Instagram the other day, she's reading Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, the Nazi concentration camp prisoner who was able to find joy in the worst possible imaginable scenario. Right. And it was so interesting because I haven't read that book since I was in college. And then she's posting it on her Instagram, and I texted her and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you're reading that book. And she's like, oh, why? Like, she wasn't sure why I thought it was a big deal. And I was like, yeah, I think it's like the principle. It's the principle that you just described, which is in any moment, no matter what you think is happening or how wrong the world is, cue pity party,
totally. Cue suffering. Cue suffering.
Yeah, cue the suffering. Cue the suffering. It's, guess what? You have the power in every single moment to choose.
Yeah. And I say that because I wanted to PS your story, because I love your story and you're absolutely right. Like self-love, dance, like make your space, woman. Like take ownership of your joy and give it to yourself. Like you said, like I do my 5 minutes of dance and I get it. And I'm like, yes. And life is going to present us with moments that we can't just like go, hey, y'all, 5 minutes. I need to go out and dance. It's like, no, but in this moment, I'm going to own my joy. I'm going to own my focus. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it wherever in a memory, something, instead of what's wrong with the situation. Because this is my fucking life. I am in this scenario for the next couple minutes.
Well, and everything that shows up like that's just like the universe putting a piece of practice in front of us to be able to practice finding the joy, right? It's like, this is practice, this is practice, this is practice, this is practice. Like you can.
Yeah. And pretty soon it's like, Abraham has the 5, the 5 steps, if you listen to a lot of them.
I don't know the 5 steps.
Oh, okay. So one, try and hopefully don't butcher this. So it's ask, source answers and receive. That's what a lot of like her first, her book, Asking It Is Given. That was like the basis of that. And if you listen to enough of Abraham from years ago, there was the 4th, which is you bump into contrast again. Oh, geez. Okay, there's contrast. And 5 is you recognize in the moment of contrast that you're back in step 1 and you're not pissed at yourself because you're back in step 1. And how I interpret that, like I started interpreting that is, I would tell my my transformative buddies, I'm like, we're creators, man. Like in that moment, shit is looking bad. Like I am godlike. I'm like, yes, I'm going to create something in this moment that's even better that I get to enjoy, because I'm going to throw it into my vortex, as she would say. Like in that moment, like that is the crux of the moment, that our creator self, our ability, who we are as a consciousness emerges, like
that's true.
It's that moment. It's not the moment we realize it.
No, it is.
It's the moment where you bump up against something you don't want. You create, like, take that moment as remembering your divinity, if you will. Like, holy cow, you just created something that didn't exist in consciousness until you created it. And you're on the way to it already. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And I bounce in between like 1 and 5. Like there's times where I'm like, oh, damn it, why is this happening? And then there's times where I'm like, all right, bring it on. Okay, I got this. Yeah, like I'm creating. It's okay. And I'm clicking. And, it's not always pretty in between. But like you
Mm-hmm.
said, that's our mastery, right? That's our master's class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It made me think of just 3 different things, and I'm just trying to think of that we could start a whole nother conversation about, what just came up for me on that. And I'm just wondering if there is anything we can do to put a pin in this conversation, you know what I mean, and kind of end it in a way that makes sense, or
Yeah, for
any,
sure.
because I have a whole nother thing I want to talk to you about, but I don't have enough time.
Please, let's do it.
I don't
Let's do
have
it. Yeah,
enough
we're not linear in this conversation. We're feminine.
No.
We're multidimensional. So yeah.
Yeah.
What you
Well,
got?
thank you. I got nothing.
Oh,
I'm good. Oh no, I can't. I really do have a whole nother subject that I want to talk to you about. But it's too big. It's too big. I don't have enough time.
Okay.
Yeah. So
We'll
anything,
definitely come back.
any closing thought or to cap this particular conversation off with?
Let me just tune in. Well, something I wanted to open with, and I think I want to say more than this, and depending, if you need to like get the hook out and pull me off, you just let me know. But I was honoring you this morning in my walking around my house and just thinking about you and what I love about you. And I love you. You know that. And
Of course.
one of the many things that I love about you is your ability to realize your dreams. And this, what you're doing right now, is like something you listened for and you heard and you germinated it. And then you maybe spoke it a little bit, or maybe just spoke it quietly to yourself. And you're like, what if? But you allowed it to keep going. And it turned into, I'll call it a project, right? Just like your goddess project. Like I was thinking about that experience, and you allowed me to be a part of that experience. And I'm like, Joanna just like realizes her dreams. Like she has a beautiful way of going, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that would be fun. Oh, that's special. Oh, that needs to be done. And I want to get about doing it, or something like that, whatever it sounds like for you in your heart. And you do it. You're not like, oh yeah, that can, I mean, like sometimes it has to wait. Right. I get it. But like, you're not like for never, but maybe not right now. But when you shared with me about what you're doing with this, I was like, I love you so much. Yes, like do that. Like, remember when you shared it with me? I remember where I was in my house and you told me that you're doing this. And I was like, yes, you need to do that. Yes. Like, oh my God, I'm so excited you're doing it. I don't even know what it's going to come about. But I was like, yeah, because I'm up for whatever you're up for. That's that. And I just want you to know, like, I honor all of who you are and what you are for me as an expression and an inspiration. It just floors me to think about you sometimes, how much I love you.
Thank you, Polly. I love you too. And I'm so glad that this conversation is the initiating conversation of this project. And I mean, our relationship and my path, my kind of evolutionary human path, that has gone on back, since before we met, and will continue on into the future, has been inspired in so many different ways and in so many different times by you and your journey and your path. I feel like everything that I'm getting up to, you've already done. Like you do it, you pave the way. I mean, we could give 5 examples. I mean, from showing me you could be, single, happy, and divorced and loving life, at our age, to, I mean, you were one of the people that inspired me to go vegan. I mean, and we're both not vegan anymore, but that's a whole nother conversation. But, I mean, there's a whole list of things, the books that you've shared with me, and these concepts that I never even heard of. And, some of the dynamics that you've modeled in your life, you know, I know that a lot of times when you, Polly, are in it and I'm listening as your friend and watching as your friend, I'm going, oh my God, wow. Like, that's amazing. And then like 2, 3, 4 years later, I'm starting to experience something like that. I'm like, okay, that's what she was talking about. Like, I feel like the next thing is like, I'm going to become a part of some women's circle in like however long. I'm going to be like, oh my God, I cannot believe it's taken me this long, you know? I mean, even just from the going to festivals and dancing, I have never in my life gone to a festival and went dancing until this past a couple of months
Yeah.
ago was the first
Yeah.
time, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like the fact that, so what you have done is not only modeled the behavior of seeker for me, but you have normalized through our conversations, these decade-long conversations that have been strung together, and sometimes they're more often and sometimes they're more spread out.
Mhm.
But you've normalized this way of being, these conversations, and this seeker's path, and this kind of this wide-eyed exploration, of life and curiosity. And just when I feel like the world is full of robotic sheep jumping off cliffs one after the other, I remember there's a Polly. I remember there's a Polly. And so thank
And you
you.
are that. And you are that also. Thank you, darling. Thank you for that. And
I love
what it
you.
reminds me of is I think a little bit of what you just encapsulated about who I am. My fun bus, my RV is very colorful, right? So I bought I hit the van life button a little bit before most people knew about it, and I bought an RV and I moved into it and I lived in it for 3 years, and then I realized she wasn't on the outside as expressive as I felt and loved her on the inside, so I painted her, right? Or
Right.
my dear friend, I hired her to paint my bus.
Mm-hmm.
And part of my inspiration with that, and I think this is a little bit me telling myself what my life is about, is your life is your message, is when I created her, there's these little cabins on the outside. And so she's all blue in the base. And then there's these beautiful expressions of beauty and art on her. But I had her leave the cabinets open because I wanted to start putting phrases in. And I'm just, I've had this bus for years and I haven't done it. But I was like, I did on the very front of the bus, I did probably my biggest expression is I painted on it, follow your bliss. So the first thing going down the road, you fucking can't miss
love
her.
it.
She's bright pink and it says follow your bliss. And I get different people, honking and, loving that and taking pictures and stuff. And on the sides, what I wanted to do in the cabinets were like quotes and inspiration and things that spoke to me as an encapsulation of who she is for me is, man, wake up. Like live that life. Like you see this bus, like this is a reminder to you, like wake up, like do that thing, whatever this is, and some people experience her in that way and some people tune her out, whatever. And I think that is what a lot of what I'm here for, which is I'm getting about doing that. I'm getting about whether I see somebody like, oh my God, somebody's in this exotic place. That looks amazing. I've got to go do that. I don't even know. Like, or Joanna, like, what is this life you're living? You're at the landmark. I think I need to check this out. I don't even know, but like diving in and experiencing it, and then taking that as like if we say like our life, like things are floating off of us and people are picking it up. It's like you see parts of my life, whether it's a photograph or you hear me tell a story or something like that, and then it inspires someone else. It's like, yeah, I'm a traveler on this journey, and
Right.
I'm picking up little hints and stuff, and behind me, other people, and I'm picking up other people's scent of like, I want to do that. I want to experience that. And I think that's just who I am in the world. And I think we all are that, and other things and more. But I think that's a little bit of the core who I am, and I'm good with that. I'm like,
well, you are specifically a stand for possibility. I mean, you're like stake in the ground. Like,
yeah,
let me just show you. Let me just show you.
And not as a, like, don't tell me I'm not, because I already believe it. Like, I don't have a soul in my world that is close to me that would ever tell me no. Like everyone I choose to know, if I say wacky things, they're like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, there's no no for me. And
Yeah.
that's who I want to be for the people in my
Right.
life. Yeah.
Right. No, because that would be counterproductive.
Yeah.
And also your energy is attracting,
Yeah.
the people that are on that same, and
Yeah. And I would just say, like, believe in each other, and like, whatever, like, when you shared this with me, I was like, get up to that. I fully support it. How do I sign up? What do you want me to do? Like, yes. And I believe, as friends, that's what friends do. That's what people
right.
who love us and cherish us do. And so, hell to the yeah.
I wish I was going with you next weekend so hard. I'm not
Sorry.
kidding you. This is like killing me. This is killing me.
No. It's just inspiring you. You just, in that moment, you created LIB 2023. It's coming. You're going to be there.
All right.
We'll play.
All right, honey. On that note, I'm gonna call us good. I'm gonna call us good.
Yeah. I love you.
Thank you so much for taking this time, Polly. I mean,
I would
love
take
you.
more.
I know. And I can't wait to see you in person and I can't wait to go on our first hike together.
Yay. We'll do it. All right,
Yeah.
sweetie. Yeah. So I'll see you here in a couple weeks. You'll be
Yes.
in the neck of the world.
Yeah.
So good.
All right, baby. Have a great weekend.
Love you, sister.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye, honey.